Hello and thank you for joining us today. I'm Paul Stover, President of the OC Forum, a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to providing a civil public space focused on events that impact our community. Our goal is to facilitate extraordinary programs with visionaries, connections, conversations, and solutions. On behalf of the entire OC Forum Board, we'd like to thank you for joining us for the Future of virtual program series made possible by presenting sponsors UCI and UCI Health. With the support of all our generous sponsors and viewers like you, the OC Forum has been able to provide great virtual conversations with completely open access to the entire community. If you are able, we would appreciate your donation or membership so that we may continue to provide these timely programs. We look forward to your continued partnership as we celebrate the OC Forum's 30th anniversary throughout the year. Because without your support, our public service programming simply would not be possible. Thank you again for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy today's program. And don't forget to have a great OC Day.
At UCI, we believe in the infinitely curious. We believe in the courageous of thought, the ones willing to fail again and again until one day they don't. When you have the courage to see things differently, to see opportunity where others see impossibility, amazing things will happen. At UCI, we stop at nothing to change the world, to save lives and deliver the extraordinary.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for our discussion, The Future of Philanthropy, sponsored by Bank of America and presented by UCI and UCI Health. My name's Taryn Palumbo. I'm the Executive Director of Orange County Grantmakers, and I will be your moderator for the first part of our discussion today. Orange County Grantmakers is a community of philanthropists committed to improving outcomes for Orange County and beyond, and we are thrilled to be part of the conversation today. Today we're going to be talking about philanthropy, nonprofits, and why both industries are so important to the future of Orange County and to the support of our community, especially where it is today with COVID. As the discussion goes on, please know that you can comment, you can ask questions in the chat below, and we will do our best to answer them. So for this first segment, I am joined by Harold Herman, who is the CEO of Second Harvest Food Bank, and Bill Bracken, who is the founder and culinary director of Bracken's Kitchen. I am so thrilled to be joined by both of them. They are both leaders in our nonprofit industry and both happen to be in our food industry, which, as many of us know, is an area that's been particularly impacted by COVID right now. So we're going to start with a question about that. Just in light of everything that's been going on and with COVID, kind of what happened back in March and where things are today, how did the two organizations, Second Harvest and Bracken's Kitchen, immediately pivot to match some of the needs that arose when COVID first hit? And most importantly, what does that still look like today? Because we know that, if anything, the crisis is still continuing. So why don't we start with Bill?
Well, I don't know about you, Taryn, but I certainly will never forget that first week when everything shut down and closed, and quite frankly, several weeks after that, not just the impact of COVID, but really what happened in our industry. We work with Recovered Food, and I don't know if anybody could really understand, unless you've been in our business, the millions and millions and millions of pounds of fresh perishable food, produce, fish, meat, chicken, just everything that suddenly didn't have a home overnight when the restaurants across the state closed down. So we just suddenly were overwhelmed with trucks coming, calls coming, everybody that they have all this food they need to find a home for. And because of the way the supply chain works, it really happened in about 2 or 3 phases as people were working through their inventories. So we realized quickly that not only did we need to pivot, but we need to pivot everything, how we make our meals, how we run our operations. And one of the biggest things we had to think about was our volunteers. For both our safety and sanity, we realized we had to suspend all volunteer operations, which had a big impact on us because we use a lot of volunteer staff to get the work done. So we had to go out and we had to hire people. So we reached out to our restaurant partners, all of them that had to close their restaurants down, and we found people that we could put to work. And unfortunately, the government's paycheck support, the expanded unemployment benefits actually was a detriment because people could make more money staying at home for a while there. But we hired 16 people, we put them to work, and we just changed how we made our meals, what they look like, how we package them for people in need. And we went from 8,000 meals a week to about 35 to 40,000 meals at peak. We're still right about 30,000 meals because that isn't going away. The need isn't going away anytime soon. You know, those 16 employees that we hired, we still have 14 of them working with us today. They've become full-time employees, and we're just continuing this production for the foreseeable future, for sure.
Thank you. And Harold?
Much of the same for our organization as well. Those early days certainly put us into a bit of a crisis mode, as you can imagine. What we did at Second Harvest Food Bank, first and foremost, is we started to buy truckloads of food. We started to raise money as quickly as we possibly could, and we purchased over 1 million pounds of food in the first 4 weeks of the crisis so that we could get ahead of demand. We knew there'd be a run on supermarkets, that there'd be issues with closures of restaurants, and that readily available food would be a real concern. Like Bracken's, we lost our volunteers as well. We typically have 26,000 volunteer visits annually, and for the last 7 months we've had no volunteers in our building. So we had to completely reconfigure our entire operating model and move to a box format and a drive-through format to also support the many food pantries, the houses of worship, the senior centers, the schools, different facilities where people gather that were closing. We lost almost 40% of our pantry network in March and April and had to fill the gap in order to meet the demand that was ahead of us, which was both the existing working poor families, but now many newly vulnerable that were losing jobs as a result of shelter in place and the economic fallout and the shutdown of many businesses.
So we were talking just before the session went live about Thanksgiving is coming up and the need is still here. We're also about to go into a third wave of COVID. So maybe Harold first, what is this need looking like now, and what do you kind of predict for the next year as we're looking at the needs for what you serve? And you can kind of pivot and just, as we're addressing what nonprofits are facing in general, what do you see kind of as what's coming?
Yes, Taryn, unfortunately, we're still in the eye of the storm. And we still see a long winter ahead. The next 12 to 24 months, unemployment is the primary focus for us. And what does unemployment then do in terms of food insecurity? What impact does that have on the community? So unfortunately, our outlook isn't as optimistic as, let's say, what's happening on Wall Street, or this thought of a V-shaped recovery. We see a much slower rebuild as companies find their feet again. But there will be a lot of pressure on Main Street business, which means there's a lot of pressure on families. With housing protection coming to an end in January, there just are many newly vulnerable families still out there that'll be looking for some type of support from a social services network, from that safety net, and food is part of that plan, and that's what we're focused on providing. So we continue to buy food at unprecedented levels for our organization, and push that food out into the community in a modified format so that we can also safely move that food through the different pantry partners that we have and into the hands of those families who are counting on us at this time.
And Bill, same question. What are you kind of seeing now, and what do you predict for your company moving forward?
Well, it's really hard to add a whole lot of value to what Harold already shared with us, but we know in the low-income population, the first thing that people shave when they're really struggling is food. That's the first thing to go because they do everything they can to try to pay their rent, stay in their home, all those things. So that just speaks to how vital food is. Having spent my whole life in hospitality and food service, I look at some of those numbers and the predictions that are out there, and what will that have, what kind of impact that'll have on the rest of the business world, our world in general. Restaurants in Southern California, or California as a whole, the California Restaurant Association predicted between 30 to 35% of restaurants won't make it through the end of the year. So, that 35% loss of business right there in that sector alone, and when you think about all those employees, and like Harold mentioned the word newly vulnerable, there's people out there that used to be ones to give and support the nonprofit communities out there. They're the ones in line now. So we've seen a kind of a wholesale shift in need right now. And as we know, right now, Orange County is threatened to be locked down again, going back to the purple tier, which means restaurants and places businesses are closing down again. So I won't say we're in the eye of the storm like Harold, because I'm not a weatherman, but I know that storm's a long way from being over. Ironically, we watched Twister this weekend, and all we talked about is this hurricane of hurt that we're in right now, and it's not going away anytime soon.
Yeah. Harold, you said something I think that's so important, is that nonprofits and organizations like both of yours, they serve this really important safety net role here in Orange County, right? Well, everywhere really, but they do serve this safety net. And I think now more than ever, people are becoming aware of just how important a role nonprofits play in supporting our community and keeping things going. So talk about how organizations, individuals, businesses can support your organizations and nonprofits, especially now. We know money, of course, finances are important, but going beyond that.
Yes, thank you, Taryn. Well, we definitely see our role as first responders, but first responders of food, that basic need that anyone also needs to have available to them in their home so they can be productive and move forward. And the best way for companies and organizations in general to support clearly, as mentioned, is revenue. I mean, because of the fact that we're buying so much product at this time. But that also means intellectual property, having resources and talent that can come in and help our organization in different ways with different projects is a great way to partner in the community. And then certainly volunteerism. While both our organizations, Bracken's and Second Harvest, haven't had many volunteers for some time, we are slowly dialing that back up. That remains to be seen what that looks like in the months ahead as we go through this next phase of COVID spread. But there are different dimensions to how organizations can interact and support and lead within the respective community, any social services or any nonprofit organization for that matter that's doing good.
Bill, same question to you.
Yeah, well, I think about social enterprise and the work we try to do. I know Harold's done some neat things at the food bank with his produce boxes they're growing and selling, and we try to have worked hard to develop our own social enterprise, and 50% of our income prior to COVID was from our own sources, and like any business, that's dropped too. So, I mean, it's across the board, the impact of COVID for everybody. So, like Harold mentioned, obviously fundraising is and income is always an important part of it, but I think the important thing to remember for the businesses out there, if they don't realize that, because a lot of people tend to forget, we're running a business just like any other business. We have all the same challenges. We happen to be a nonprofit business, but everything from web design to building maintenance, you name it, we have all the same needs and demands. So volunteerism, as Harold mentioned, doesn't always have to be someone in the food bank or in our kitchen cutting onions. I mean, someone wants to do website design. It saves us from spending the money on it. Somebody has connections. We've seen a lot of people reach out to us because of the work we do, and they say, hey, I'm in this business and maybe I can help in this way. So I would just encourage businesses to get creative and look at your resources, look at your, I don't know what we say now, not Rolodex, we don't have Rolodex anymore, but look at your contact list now, and you'd be surprised if people in your business, friends, you may have a great maintenance company that takes care of your business, does services, you may be able to leverage support for a nonprofit down the road. So there's a lot of creative ways if you just choose to dig into it and try to find a way.
One of the things that I think I've heard both of you talk about is this idea of time, talent, and treasure. So, I'd love to kind of expand on that idea of nonprofits are providing such important services. You guys have both mentioned that, and there's a need there, but there's many, many ways that it can be matched, right? So maybe, Harold, I think I've heard you talk about this a lot, this idea of time, talent, and treasure. And this does lead into the second half of our discussion today, which is going to be about why it's so important for businesses to have this idea of social impact. So we'll kind of key that conversation up right now. Harold?
So time, talent, treasure, interesting combination, because independently they're all fantastic elements for any social services or nonprofit. Together they're even that much stronger. I think Bill just referenced Rolodexes, which is a great example. It may not necessarily be the company specifically, but vendors, subcontractors of that said company that might also be of material value to us. But what I've found personally to be very helpful is also just thought leadership and partnership. Oftentimes, companies standing behind nonprofits put the wind in our sails. They keep us focused on our mission, and whether it's, again, financial resources or potential talent that's within the organization that we can leverage in some way for a special project, or the resources that they have available to them that we can put to work. And I think you captured that really well, Bill. There are dimensions to how a company can certainly get involved. And then beyond that, getting involved with a nonprofit and having that kind of resonate through the entire organization, that purpose-driven life that a company has within the community, that inspires an entire army of team members within that respective organization. So those tentacles go out much further and much deeper into the community when a business stands behind an organization or behind a mission and the team that works there follows.
Bill, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think of two projects we were involved in the past year with the local organization that does a lot to give back. They were both pro bono projects. One of them, they brought their team of engineers, creatives, IT creatives together, and they built an app for us to actually manage our inventories, because the amount of recovered food that comes and goes is just amazing. So this is a neat project. They just wanted to get involved. This company's great at getting back, and they didn't want to necessarily write a check, but they said, hey, we can do this. So we got a new inventory management system that we didn't have before. Another one is they just finished a marketing project for us. Marketing isn't cheap. We have to promote the work that we do. We have to spend money making sure the world is aware of what we do in order to keep our business moving forward, just like all of you. So the latest was their marketing people from they have affiliates all over the country. We had a person in Nashville on Zoom calls once a week working on heading up a marketing campaign. So there's all sorts of creative ways to get involved and lend the time, talent, and treasure. And it kind of leads to the overall thought and what you mentioned in the next sentence. I don't think any of the business, while I don't know who's watching this film or this show right now, I don't think anybody needs a lecture from me the importance of businesses be involved in the community and giving back in today's consumer. But one thing I heard at church last Sunday was generosity changes us. I know it's changed me phenomenally. I mean, beyond measure, the last 7-8 years of my life for running Bracken's Kitchen. Not only does generosity change us, it changes the future. So I would just implore businesses out there that have the ability to get involved. And generosity doesn't always mean writing a check, but how can you get involved? How can you change your employees? How can you help your employees change the future for so many people who need it? And that's where the true human capital gets put to work, and it really makes a difference in our communities.
That's great. I think so often we forget that, it just like you both said, nonprofits are businesses. And I think oftentimes we kind of overlook that fact and look at the services that we're providing and not some of the integral infrastructure that supports the ability for those nonprofits to actually get those services out. Kind of expanding on this idea of the connection between what people can give and what organizations can give. From a nonprofit perspective, what have you seen as some of the values, both to your company, and you kind of touched it on already, but what the impact is on the businesses that have come and engaged with you guys over the last couple of years? What have you seen as some of the values there, again, from the nonprofit perspective? Why don't we start with Bill?
We're looking at each other over there. I think we both benefit from the fact that we're in the food business, and we all share the two most basic human needs for survival: the need to breathe, the need to eat. The problem is air is free and food is not, and that gives food so much power over a person's life. And I've seen firsthand how our work affects everybody, not just the people out there that we're serving and helping, but the people that come into our organization. We've had so many organizations come in and getting involved in food production, food packing, whatever it is. It's just a great team bonding. It's a great opportunity, and it really changes people. I watch people walking away from a volunteer opportunity and just being dumbfounded, heart-struck, I don't know what the word is, by the impact they've had on them, and knowing, especially when they're out in the community with their food truck and feeding people directly, because we all have this idea in our mind. It's just a fact. As long as man's walked this earth, poverty has come with a stigma, and we look at people living in poverty and we kind of judge them. And man, this pandemic has changed the face of poverty in Orange County in 7-8 months. I mean, the person next door, you may not even realize how that's affected them. So when people get out and get involved in staff, I mean, it's a powerful thing. I mean, it's beyond just having a team building at your work or business, but it's actually team building to make a difference, and that's really powerful.
Thank you. Harold?
Yeah, I would say it's the power of shared purpose. When an organization stands for something and its people follow or come together to support that end, the emotional bond, the emotional connection those team members have with each other is quite powerful. And when I've watched and interacted with teams that are working together to do good for their community, they can't help but lift up as a team and as an organization when they go back to their day jobs, if you will. And when an organization stands for more, which many of you, if not most, all of you do, standing for your community, and your team knows that and it resonates with them through experiences that they're having, it's not just a job at that point, it's a choice. And I've seen nothing but pride for one another and for the companies, the respective companies that volunteers have represented, that really resonates. And I believe it makes companies stronger.
I'm going to break the rules and chime in here.
Go for it.
I saw it on a Roy Choi video, Broken Bread, a while ago, and it's something we talk about often. I've seen it with all these employees we hired that came from the restaurant industry, hardened cooks that have been there for years, just in the trenches in the restaurants. But, this is a job and this is a purpose. And there's just something higher about a purpose. And when you can bring a purpose into your work beyond just the profit, it really changes people in meaningful and powerful ways. So good point about bringing it back to the work. It's huge.
I love that. Just a reminder to everyone, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box. I have my phone at the ready to take them and get them answered. I'm going to throw a question to both of our panelists that I didn't actually prep them for, so sorry about that.
Boy.
But since today we are talking about the future of philanthropy, and Bill, you mentioned how COVID has really changed the face of poverty. I'm wondering, from what you've seen, from your experience over the last 7-8 months, how do you think this will change how people think of, perceive, engage with community-based and service-based organizations and nonprofits? Do you think there is a better or bigger understanding of sort of the role that they play? What have you seen just from maybe people who have engaged with your organization and are learning more about what you do? Why don't we start with Bill with that one?
I think the real challenge we have right now, Taryn, is not only do we have COVID, we have so much unrest in our country right now, politics, government, who's the president, who's not, racial divide, everything. And I think as a result, there's a whole lot going on that will probably impact a little bit the good that can come out of COVID. Because as we know, when this country has faced crisis time and again over its history, the country has come together in a powerful way. And it's hard to come together in the midst of a COVID crisis when we have all these other things that are dividing us. So I don't mean to be Debbie Downer, but it's one of our real challenges. But I don't doubt at all there'll be good that comes out of this. We see this already. We've got 45, 50 new agency partners come together, nonprofits that we never worked with. We've seen nonprofits that have absolutely nothing to do with food step up and say, all we can do right now is feed people. Maybe I can't offer piano lessons or music lessons to a child living in poverty, but we can help feed them right now. So the nonprofit community has come together, and you can't help but think that will resonate with the people out there in the public that maybe wouldn't realize that otherwise. So there's certainly a lot of good to come out of it. Maybe not as much as I wish, but that's the world we live in today.
And
Harold?
Because of the crisis, food insecurity has definitely been thrust back into the limelight, with so many looking for support. Our volume is 113% greater than prior year. And so, and it's grown quarter by quarter through the crisis. So that's even the latest numbers, July through September. I think the thing that COVID has really exposed is that many families, many Orange County families and families unfortunately across the nation are 3 to 10 paychecks away from needing to get into a food line. And the lower working class families that are out there have been pushed down by this economic fallout. Their balance sheets, their own personal savings accounts have now been emptied, and we have a crisis on our hands. Now the question is, how can we rebuild together as a community? And certainly for the both of us, how do we respond with food? That's just the first response. That's the immediate need. There's lots more work that has to be done in order to lift those that have been made vulnerable through this crisis back onto their feet. And jobs is the number one thing we need to bring back. So we're all very hopeful, which is not a strategy, that we can work through this crisis as quickly as possible and get back to work so we can get paychecks back into these families and food back on the table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Well, so we do have one question. I know we've touched on what individuals can do and what businesses can do, but as a community, what is your perspective on what the community as a whole can do? And you kind of touched on this with this idea of advocacy and uplifting and whatnot, but anything else more specific that you'd like to add on to that? Harold?
I think, we've covered all the ways that companies and individuals can help, but I think just the general understanding that we do have a food crisis on our hands, and the awareness that in our own yards, in all 34 cities of this county, food insecurity lives in the shadows. And just to make sure that we're talking about that, and we're not running away from it, we're not hiding it, we're not afraid of it. We need to rush head on towards the things that need to be done in order to lift these families up. And so for me, it's as much just talking about this, and that's the great purpose of OC Forum in here and these questions, because it puts this topic on center stage for us to address as a community.
Thank you. And Bill?
I think we're extremely blessed to live in Orange County, and it's such a tight-knit group. I mean, when you saw how the community came together to raise funds and support everybody when this crisis broke out, that's a blessing that a lot of communities don't have. So I think we're a little bit of a model for other counties and communities across the country. But again, like Harold said, I hope it's okay that I mention her name, but immediately Teresa Walker comes to mind. She's a writer for the Register, and she writes story after story after story after story after story about the nonprofit world, the low income, the homeless, the food insecure, and many people might be tempted just to skip over those stories and things because it's something we don't want to talk about, like Harold said. But again, COVID has changed the face of hunger in a big way, kind of like 2008, 9, 10 economic crisis did, but I think this is longer lasting. So we do have to talk about, we do need to recognize that your neighbors are probably struggling, you don't even know it. So we just have to talk about and see what we can do to help as a community.
Yeah, thank you. Another question from the audience. Has the pandemic changed the way you work with public agencies and local governments? So, are they reaching out to you? Are you helping to coordinate responses? What has that looked like? And I'll cede it to whoever wants to answer that first.
You probably do a lot more work on that side, so I'll let you start that.
Well, I would say we've seen the best of humanity. Bill touched on it a moment ago, and that transcends individuals, companies, legislators, local government. The community really has stepped up and come together to band together to try to work through the crisis we currently find ourselves in. I don't see anything really changing from how we've been conducting that business. We've been talking to each other on a regular basis, not only the different pantries, the 2 food banks, Orange County Food Bank, Second Harvest Food Bank, and the many community partners that we have, which include other nonprofits like United Way and Goodwill and the county agencies and so many others. We're all focused on the same ends, and we have locked arms to work through this crisis together, and that makes me proud to be an Orange County resident.
That's wonderful. Yeah, right when the pandemic hit, the Orange County Community Resilience Fund that OC Grantmakers was a part of, along with a number of other funds, United Way, the Anaheim Community Foundation, together we raised over $8 million for nonprofit relief in those immediate days. And I think our original goal was maybe 2 or 3 million. And the response it blew it away. And the money is still coming into a number of those funds. There's still money going out. And I think it really is demonstrative of the fact that the community here is invested and wants to support, is engaged, and really believes in the importance of the nonprofit community. So I've just been thrilled to hear, everything that you're saying. Now, I think we have a couple more minutes. I haven't gotten our time yet. So why don't I ask a question about, we have 2 minutes left. Okay, perfect. No, we have 5 minutes left. Excellent. So if you have any questions, please send them in. We were talking about it right before we went live. So why don't we kind of share what you guys are both doing for Thanksgiving prep that's coming up? Because I think it's important for people to know what resources are out there for people who might be food insecure. And with the holiday coming up, we know that food is part of the celebration that we have next week. So Bill, why don't you go first?
Well, we was joking earlier about who's making the gravy. And gravy is a food group of its own in my life. So, we've had a lot of agencies reach out. They continue to reach out, trying to do something special. I mean, no one would have thought back on March 13th. By the way, that was Friday the 13th. No one ever talks about it. The county shut down on Friday the 13th. And we just had another one last week. Thank God we didn't have anything worse happening. But no one thought 8 months ago that we'd still be here today. Everybody thought, at least many people that I know thought this will blow over and back to life as normal. So here we still are. And I mean, it's been long, it's been tiring, it's been hard. So now as we look out at Thanksgiving right around the corner and we're still here and we're threatening more shutdowns, a lot of people are saying, hey, what can we do to help each other? So we're making more turkey meals than we had planned, that's for sure. We've already done some. We got a lot of faith-based organizations are trying to feed the people in need. If we can't make a turkey, we're roasting off whole chickens. Today we're roasting off 200 whole chickens to send out. So we're just doing everything we can to put a tasty, nutritious holiday meal in front of people who need it most. Not nearly to the number that I think Harold's a part of, and we give thanks.
So we, and that's great work, Bill, especially during this time of thanks. We are working in support of an organization called We Give Thanks that's been conducting a Thanksgiving meal at the Honda Center along with the Anaheim Ducks this will be the 34th year. Because of physical distancing requirements and just how things are, that event was at risk. And we were running a food distribution on Saturdays for some time, met with the team there, and happy to report that next Thursday on Thanksgiving, the Orange County Food Bank, along with Community Action Partnership, Waste Not OC, Second Harvest Food Bank, and We Give Thanks, have prepared basically ready-to-eat Thanksgiving meals. We're still trying to figure out where to get the gravy, but ready to eat Thanksgiving meals, and packed boxes of food for 7,000 households. So we'll be out working on Thanksgiving morning and providing for the community, and we're honored that we're able to do that, especially during this time when families might just need a little bit of that extra hope that comes along with that food as they spend some time with their loved ones, thinking about what's next as they move forward. And hopefully through what will be at least the beginning of a better holiday.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you both for making sure that those resources are out there. I'll just end by saying, at OC Grantmakers, we've seen the extraordinary response from the funder and philanthropy community, the nonprofit community, and echoing what you both have said, I think COVID has truly brought people together. We've seen increased collaboration, and we really see going forward this increased willingness to partner and work together and think outside the box, because when COVID hit, people had to pivot. They had to change their way of operating, their way of structure, to go virtual all of a sudden, to respond to the needs of the community in ways that they maybe have not before. And so we really see that sparked some innovation in our nonprofit community, and that type of collaboration will certainly continue down the future. It's the same thing on the philanthropic side. We're seeing increased opportunities for investing in unique partnerships and general just new collaborative ideas that we think will really support Orange County. So again, as we look to the future, we're really excited about what is possible. I think it really proved that we are able to meet the challenges when they come and when they arise. And we are so thankful to every single nonprofit in Orange County that has stepped up and really served to help our community during this time of crisis. Now we are going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Sherry Battle, Senior Vice President of Market Manager from Bank of America, will be leading the second part of our discussion. Sherry was recently recognized by the Paskey Foundation as an OC Influencer for Good, and she will be joined by business leaders that are leading with purpose and impact, so we can continue that discussion about what that looks like. Stay tuned. Thank you.
The racial and economic disparities in this country have only been widened by the coronavirus and amplified by the most recent acts of injustice. That's why Bank of America has committed $1 billion over 4 years to address critical gaps in affordable housing, access to healthcare, employment and job skills, and the resources small businesses need to succeed. We can do more to further advance racial equality and economic opportunity for all.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm Sherry Battle, Market Manager of Bank of America, and thank you, Bill, Harold, and Taryn. We heard how the nonprofits are impacting our community with the health crisis, and now we'd like to take the focus on the conversation where we see the role of business of all sizes and how they're working to help some of the most pressing issues facing our communities. And as we all know, Orange County has a reputation as a place where businesses really get things done. And our private sector is so full of companies who see themselves not just as being in business to make money, but to have a greater purpose and mission of service to their communities. You know, businesses do well by doing good. And more than ever, it's important to have a balanced approach to ESG, environmental, social, and governance issues that help businesses measure how they're doing to support our society. And those businesses that do well across these initiatives are companies that our research shows clients want to invest in, and they tend to do well against their competitors. The business community can really have a significant impact on social change. And to quote our CEO, Brian Moynihan, capitalism can solve these problems. And if we don't aim capitalism at them, they're not going to get solved. So with me virtually today, I have two guests who are outstanding examples of just these types of businesses. First, we have Tam Nguyen. He is the president of a small family-owned business, Advanced Beauty College, with campuses in Garden Grove and Laguna Hills. More than 40,000 graduates have gone through this innovative program in its 33 history. The majority of these graduates are proudly employed in the beauty care industry, and many becoming successful small business owners themselves. Advanced Beauty College is the 2020 recipient of the prestigious National School Spirit Award by the American Association of Cosmetology Schools and National Philanthropy Day Small Business Award. And we have Bill Sanderson, a corporate executive VP, Chief Administrative Officer for Golden State Foods, which is a $5 billion worldwide food processor and distributor to the quick service restaurant industry, serving McDonald's, Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, Young Brands, and other quick service restaurant chains worldwide. Golden State Foods has an employee-run foundation that allows its employees to raise money and make impacts locally in their local communities. Bill's been with Golden State Foods since 2002 and is active in the community. And just a reminder, you can engage in our conversation today like we did earlier and ask questions using the chat feature, and we'll do our best to answer and respond. So let's get started. Question for both of you, Tam and Bill. John Wood, who was out here in Orange County a couple of years ago, he wrote an outstanding book called Purpose Incorporated, Cause as a Competitive Advantage. And in this book, he argues that corporate social responsibility is more than just a buzzword or publicity stunt. What does it mean to be a company of purpose and service, and how does your company embody this? So both of you, so either one can chime in first.
Sherry.
Go ahead, Bill. I'll go ahead after.
Thanks, Tam. Sherry, thank you very much for that introduction. And Tam, it's good to be with you today. You know, what we see at Golden State Foods, we're about ready to celebrate our 75th year in business here in California. And we have always been a values-based business that has a credo based on the success of others. It's really outward reaching. It's focused on our customers, on our communities, and our associates. And with very little change over 75 years, what we've seen as time has gone on, it seems to become more and more relevant. Our ethos seems to be that of our community, and that people are realizing, our customers and employees, that it's not so important what you do, but why you do it. And I think it helps us be more successful, helps our customers be more successful, and now helps us, as we're seeing in the younger population entering the workforce. It's really the key motivator for them wanting to engage with the company, so that they can feel good about not only the company doing well, but doing good in the communities in which they live and work.
Thank you, Bill.
Yes. Sherry, thank you for inviting me, and thank you, OC Forum. It's an honor to be here and join Bill on this panel. In terms of Advanced Beauty College, we're a second-generation family business that my sister and I co-own. We're proudly based here in Orange County, and we're proud residents of Orange County. When our parents founded this company, the mission and the vision that the family business would make a positive impact in the world. It was up to my sister and I, as second generation family business owners, as we collaborated with many other family business owners and small businesses here in Orange County to continue that work. Our mission today and tagline is to inspire, to educate, and to give back. Everything that we do in the decisions that we make on a daily basis, as well as all of our team members, go back to inspiring, educating, and giving back.
Thank you, Tam. Thank you, Bill. We've heard a lot about COVID. We're in the middle of this, as we just never would have expected. We're still here talking to all of you virtually. Can you both share, and we'll start with you, Tam, how your companies pivoted or expanded your philanthropic and business practices in order to respond to COVID? What are the results of impacts?
Yes, back in March, even as a small family business, what we did was obviously the devastating impacts of that March. We like many other small businesses around Orange County and throughout the state, expected 2 weeks. Little did we know that it would take months, and here we are 8 months later. One thing that we did see is we leaned very heavily, although that we had a stay-at-home order, we leaned heavily on our employees and members, as well as community, and built up relationships we had within 33 years of Orange County industry relationships. Immediately, I was able to work with 5 Orange County professionals in the nail care industry, Ted, Christy, Johnny, and they were in the nail care industry, as well as other sectors within Orange County. With that, what we were able to do was, because we saw the need early on in Orange County for our healthcare workers, especially with the need for the mask, the face mask, so the personal protective equipment. Being from the nail care and beauty salons, we immediately went to work in gathering all the personal equipment so that we can get it to the frontline healthcare workers here in Orange County. We were eventually able to create a movement, an initiative among our industry, and so that continued not only here in Orange County but throughout the country. We eventually were to get and collect 1.2 million PPEs, personal protective equipment, and also reach out to our friends in the food industry and collect 52,000 meals. All of that leading here and starting in Orange County. Today we continue that work, and certainly we're very. It takes a village, and throughout this initiative, we've called it "Nailing It for America."
Wow, that's wonderful, Tam. Bill?
We are, as you mentioned, we have a company foundation with 26 chapters around the country. And so we're very decentralized and allow our associates that work in our facilities around the country to really get engaged on the clock. We pay for their time to meet the community leaders that are working in the non-for-profits to really find out what the unique needs of the community are, develop the personal relationships, the local understanding, and then their grant-making bodies for our overarching foundation locally across the country. So it's really a powerful model. Being a food company, when COVID-19 hit us, it seemed like overnight the problem of food insecurity, which we always supported, really became almost an insatiable need across the country, across the world. And our committees really ramped up locally to really focus energy, raise additional funds, partner with customers, partner with suppliers, and do more in the area of food. I know both Harold and Bill, who were on earlier, and they run great organizations, and they're great partners of ours, really meeting the local needs of the community. One of the stories that I'm most intrigued by, and there's so many of them, we don't have enough time, but we have a business in Ark City, Kansas. It's right in the middle of dairy country, and we package aseptic packaged ice cream mix and coffee beverages and milk-based products for the quick service restaurant industry. And we read locally that many of the dairy farmers were throwing away raw dairy milk because the demand had dried up. And they didn't want to put an increased investment into processing and packaging because they couldn't sell to schools that were closed down or restaurants that were closed down. So we reached out to those farmers and asked them if we could take that dairy milk. We would invest in the processing and packaging. and that we would supply it to food banks across the country that had seen their demand for food products grow substantially, as you heard earlier. So I actually found a bottle of one. It's a sample of what we packaged. So it's a what is it, 8-ounce serving of whole vitamin D milk. It's aseptically packaged, so it's sterile and packaged in a format that keeps it shelf stable without refrigeration. This was packaged several months ago, and it looks like it's good until December 24th of 2021. So we donated a couple truckloads to the food bank right there in Ark City, Kansas, and in Wichita, Kansas, and then actually shipped a couple truckloads here to Orange County to Second Harvest Food Bank to Harold and his team. And I'm not sure if we're still making it. I think the food supply chain has opened back up again for restaurants and schools, but it was a great example of our team seeing a need in the community, finding about a situation with local farmers and didn't want that milk to go to waste.
Thank you, Bill. And this is a question to both of you, but I'll start with you, Bill. How these volunteer efforts and employee engagement, how's it impacted not only your current employees, but future employees at Golden State Foods?
What's really remarkable, as I shared with you, even though Golden State Foods is Golden State Foods and our ethos is well manifested itself in our 70-plus year history, but what we're seeing now, especially with the younger and career workforce entering the workplace, that they are more concerned today about the company's heart rather than just its operating model and its plants and the products you make and the services you provide. So the foundation, as we do an employee survey every 18 months, continues to rise in importance to our employee population. People love Golden State Foods because not only do we make great products and provide great service to preeminent food service providers around the world, but they really love Golden State Foods because of our foundation and because they can feel good and experience the great pleasure of philanthropy, whether it be time, talent, and treasure, helping those less fortunate in the community. So it's an exciting time, I think, to be in business. I think it's what you're touching on is something that's becoming more and more of a strategic imperative for most companies, and it really is going to differentiate those that really propel themselves in the future versus just green fees to get into the business world.
Thank you, Bill. And Tam, how has your employee engagement and volunteerism not only impacted your own employees, but maybe inspired some of the small businesses you end up encouraging and influencing along the way?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Sherry. As the pandemic hit and early on, as we were collecting all the personal protective equipment, and our beauty colleges, the two campuses in Garden Grove and Laguna Hills were actually shut down. We actually repurposed it because they were empty buildings. We ended up being what someone dubbed the hub of love, because we were collection centers for all the personal protective equipment. So many people came together. It started with our employees, our faculty and staff. Amazingly, they volunteered their time to come in to collect a lot of these equipment so that they could deliver and run delivery to hospitals. Many of them even took the time off to go into their nail salons and friend salons to sew masks. So many masks, hundreds and hundreds of masks were sewn, hand sewn from these. Our team members really went above and beyond. I couldn't help but think about, not only did they share their 3 T's, their time, talent, and treasure, but a 4th T emerged in our company, and that 4th T is touch. So the power of touch was very important as all of them come together. Beyond our own company, many of these employees and staff that we have children, are from families. Children who are students at UCI and Cal State Fullerton, so they got their children involved. So many it was a family affair in terms of helping us deliver to the 150 locations that we had. So not only did we deliver to many Orange County hospitals, but we also delivered to the 30 homeless shelters, as well as the 58 skilled nursing facilities throughout Orange County during that time. But beyond that, we were able to obviously work with so many in the nail salon industry. So many of our Orange County nail salons were closed down, but despite being closed down at that stay-at-home order and not having any income revenue coming in and being hurt financially, they found a way to give back. They found a way to continue to keep keep making not only those masks, but they also ended up started cooking and working with their local family restaurants to provide meals.
Thank you. I mean, Tam, can you expand, and Bill, I'm going to ask you the same question as well, on advice or lessons learned for that small business out there that may want to follow in your footsteps, and how do you go about doing that, and any lessons that can be shared?
Sure. Yeah. You know what? We have a lot of mentors in business, and this is a pandemic crisis, once in a lifetime, where many of the mentors says, we don't have the playbook on this. We're in this, we're going to figure it out together. And being that even as a small business, what we really relied on was actually trusted relationships we had built for 2 generations within Orange County of doing business. Because of those trusted relationships, we were able to go heart-centric and based on heart and just wanting to do something that was more beyond our businesses, more beyond our families, because we saw the hurt around us in our neighbors and friends throughout Orange County and beyond through this pandemic crisis. It was so important to link arms and come together. We saw so many businesses. There were so many small businesses that came together, and everyone gave what they could. Some even wrote $50 checks. Some kids even emptied their piggy banks. We also worked with the great nonprofit community. There was tremendous collaboration. I want to give a lot of credit to Orange County United Way, who came right away and wrote the first $25,000 checks. There was many family foundations that stepped up and wrote checks. Within a 3-week period, just as a small business initiative, we were able to raise $150,000 just on the financial side of things. But more important, just as important though, having the 4 T's come together and collaborate together to make a difference.
Thank you. And Bill, for the
Thank you.
larger companies out there, I mean, it can seem like a more daunting, larger undertaking. What lessons can you share with our mid-size and larger companies out there? I mean, you're global, so you're covering a large territory out there in our communities.
Yes, what I can tell you is that our philanthropic heart, and I think the heart of our employees, has been giving and giving back in the community for our entire 70-plus year history. I happened to join Golden State Foods in 2002, late 2002, and in early 2003 is when we actually established the Golden State Foods Foundation. So even though we were doing good work in the community and partnering with all the charitable organizations in which we had facilities and our associates lived nearby, we didn't have a foundation, and the foundation allowed us to do a couple things. And I think you can do it with a foundation or without a foundation, right? You can shine a light on the spirit of the company and the way you want to impact the community. That you mentioned it earlier, that you not only want to do well, but you want to do good. The other thing you can do is create a structure. It doesn't cost you anything to create a volunteer structure across the organization for how the foundation will operate. And then together, we all worked to develop what our mission statement was going to be. And we ended up on, we want to serve and help children and families in need in the communities in which our associates live and work. So that was our call to action. And then the next thing we did was we really inspired, by telling the story, sharing our mission, inspired our associates and our customers and our vendor supplier partners to join together and collaborate, because we can do so much more together than we can do individually. And then the last thing we've done is we've really gotten better at telling the story, sharing the story across our company, across our supplier vendor base, across our customers, and really inspired all of them to join in and ourselves to create a community that's very blessed and fortunate to do what we do, to have great jobs and live in beautiful places around the world. And we know there's others, due to no fault of their own, that are less fortunate and really need a helping hand from time to time. So it's really a combination of those ingredients that have come together and allowed us to really expand the reach and expand the impact of, again, our ethos, our mission in life, and really the way we're wired as human beings. It's if you need help, it's wonderful to get help. If you can give help, it's wonderful, even more wonderful, I think, to give help. It's very, very awe-inspiring.
Thank you. And where do you both see the future of philanthropy going? We'll start with you, Bill, and then we'll end with Tam. This will be our last question for both of you.
I see that the need for philanthropy increasing. I think as the world becomes smaller and we learn of all the needs globally, not just in our country, that just, again, to use that word insatiable, the needs are insatiable. It seems hard to keep up with it. So I see the coming together, like we're doing here, virtually, the coming together of businesses, of individuals with a shared heart, shared spirit for helping others, collaborating with idea exchange, and really leveraging platforms to do more and have a greater impact. So I think as we look forward, you're going to see more collaboration, more coming together of disparate charities that are serving a similar mission, but doing it their own way, and they can find that they can do it a lot better, have a lot more impact, a lot more reach if they collaborate with other charities. And the same thing in the corporate world, in the business community, us working together with the likes of Bank of America and some of the other big employers in Orange County to really share our spirit, shine a light on some of the issues and challenges, and then create a call of action together as a business community to do more and have greater impact.
Thank you, Bill. And Tam, where do you see the future of philanthropy going?
Yes. COVID-19 pandemic crisis has changed this forever. It's going to speed it up. The future of philanthropy must change. Businesses in this environment must take the lead. We can't sit back. We can't wait for our nonprofit organizations. We can't wait for the community as we watch and see it as an observer. I believe businesses must lead with cause, must lead with action. The business community, businesses large and small, as we move forward in the future of philanthropy, it has to be in the ethos, it has to be in the makeup. And I believe it starts from the leadership. It starts in the leadership all the way down. Corporate social responsibility, as mentioned in your first question, giving back, philanthropy, it just can't be a division anymore. It just can't be something that we write on a statement, but it really has to be part of something as part of the makeup of everyone in the organization from the leadership down. I do believe philanthropy has been forced to be right front and center with this crisis, and with collaboration and with companies. I believe that companies that will be around and have pivoted and put philanthropy as a priority, as a top priority, will be around and will be the leading companies that we look up to and that we support. So those are my thoughts on the future of philanthropy.
Thank you, Tam. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. And a big thank you to everyone who tuned in today. You all have hearts for tuning in today. And I really believe in all of us in Orange County community with innovation, creativity, and the commitment that we've here on the phone today, and for you being on video and for you tuning in, we can really adapt and create some new solutions for tomorrow. We heard so many great examples, and I really encourage each of you that are watching today to find your purpose, share your talents, not only within your own business, but with those around you. Encourage others to join you. And as Harold put it earlier, let's put the wind in the sails in the Orange County community. And it really is what you make of it and what you stand for as a business. And as Jim Collins, an author, said, it's the genius of the and, not or. It's purpose and profit, not or. That's what's going to get us going forward. And I want to send a big thank you to our sponsors, Bank of America, UCI Health, for really making this program possible at no cost to any of our viewers. And for more information, visit the OC Forum or any of its websites listed in the description on this program. And a big thank you to all of you, and I really hope to see you again soon.